Hi, boys and girls. In today's episode, Michigan fires Sharon Moore, Pete Alonso goes to the Orioles, and Steve Young joins us for 5 good minutes. But we begin today with a look at the long range of the NFL. Last year's Super Bowl teams, Philadelphia and Kansas City, are struggling. The Eagles have lost 3 in a row, and the Chiefs are all but underwater at 6-7. So with the Chiefs all but out and the Eagles spiraling, Wilbon, which are your Super Bowl teams right now?
Well, Tony, a couple of weeks ago, even particularly, I was more than that after the trade deadline. I told you I thought Seattle had the best team in the NFC, and I'm going to stick with that. You know, I know they got another game coming up with the Rams. That's going to be hugely important. And that division is so hard with the 49ers, Rams, and Seahawks. And I know I'm going with the least proven of the quarterbacks with Sam Darnold. But I'm going to go with Seattle in the NFC. And, Tony, this week's game between the Patriots and Bills in the AFC will really make the determination. But since you're asking me like 3 days early who I'm taking, I'm going to take Buffalo. I'm going to take, I'm going to take Buffalo. I know the window's closing on them. I don't think they have as many offensive weapons as they perhaps need that great MVP quarterback to be. And Josh is going to have to be MVP again maybe this week, and maybe 3 of the last 4. I'm taking a flyer, but I'm taking Buffalo in the AFC where it's muddier to me over New England. They'll have a rematch in the AFC Championship game, but Seattle. Don't get me started on the Bears. You know, I want to take them, but I'm not going to be crazy. Seattle in the NFC.
This is a very hard question for me to answer because I do not have the WPI, the Wilbon Power Index, in front of me, and I do not participate in a confidence pool every single week. So I'll just babble for a while. You and I are both agreed that there is not a great team in the NFL yet. And you and I are both agreed that every time we say somebody's good, they lose within the next week. Like Detroit lost early, the Packers lost early, the Chargers began to lose.
Buffalo,
the Colts
Indy.
are losing all the time.
Yeah.
Buffalo started losing,
Philly.
and the Rams and Seattle have lost within the last couple of weeks. All right, the top of the AFC right now are the Patriots, the Broncos, the Jaguars, and the Texans. Like, do we trust them? 2 of them are on real turnarounds. The Jaguars and the Patriots are on real turnarounds. You know, Houston has a great defense, but not much of an offense.
They don't score.
Not really much of an offense.
No.
You know, so I don't know about that. And you mentioned the Buffalo game against New England. I don't know who's going to win that. I agree with you about the West. I agree that, you know, San Francisco and Seattle and the Rams are at the top. So I'm going to go this. But I don't know. Like, Detroit could beat the Rams this week. I will say I will agree with you on Buffalo, and I'll go with the neighboring team in the conference. I will say the Rams, because I don't trust the young quarterbacks in their 2nd and 3rd years to get there.
Okay,
I don't.
that's
Let's
reasonable.
move. Let's move to the NBA and the great run the Oklahoma City Thunder are on as they attempt to defend their championship. They're 23-1, which conjures up visions of the Warriors from 2015 when they started 24-0 and ultimately won a record 73 games. Tonight, Oklahoma City plays Phoenix in the quarterfinals of the NBA Cup. Wilbon, you were adamant that the Thunder would not repeat as NBA champions. Are you still feeling that way?
No, not today I'm not. Not over the last month, Tony. It'd be stupid to feel that way in the face of what OKC is doing. They haven't even put their preferred starting lineup out there on the floor. They haven't. Because, I mean, J-Dub is just working his way back. They haven't. They've had the MVP out there. SGA looks every bit of SGA from last year. And so, therefore, you go, my God, there's no weakness. They don't have a weakness. They've got depth. They've got now experience. They've got an IQ that is just off the charts about how to play. They just look too good, Tony. But the reason I said no is because over the long haul, things happen. So I'm going to stay with that long haul and look toward February, March, April. And I'm going to say not repeat, but I ain't feeling that today.
Let me just take a couple of seconds to talk about the NBA Cup, which nobody understands and nobody really cares about. They seem to be regularly scheduled NBA games on different color courts. I like the different color courts. They should go to them all the time. But in terms of the Cup, what is the goal? What is the aim? And how does it end? I don't really think anybody knows or anybody cares. Today, for example, on this network, this morning, was a graphic that said, and I'm quoting here, Orlando makes the NBA Cup semifinals for the first time. Like this is the Final Four. This is the third time they've had this cup. There's 25 teams that haven't made the semifinals. All right, Oklahoma City, I'll be very brief. They're really good. They're still really young, and they play really hard. They got to go 50-8 from now to match the Warriors. They went 50-8 last year. Over a 2-year span, they went 52-6. They're really good, and they're not jaded. They don't want to get off the court and go to dinner. They want to win. So I like them right now.
Good point. They're not jaded, Tone. That's an important point.
No, they're not.
They seem enthused about this, not cynics. That's a point in their favor. Real important. Yeah. I may wind up backing down yet. And now to a big comeback in college hoops last night. 10th-ranked Brigham Young was down 22 to Clemson in Madison Square Garden, the world's most famous arena last night. Came back to win at the buzzer. The comeback was led by heralded freshman A.J. Debansa, who had 22, 7, and 5 in the second half. Tone, you watched this. So big deal, little deal, or no deal?
I think it's a big deal. And I think it's a big deal because this is a guy who everybody projects to go in the top 3 of the draft. And as you said, they're down 21 points after the first half. BYU went the last 7 minutes of the first half with no points. Clemson outscored them 21-0. They're down 21 going into the second half. And this kid, first of all, let's go over those numbers again. In one half of a college game, not 48 minutes, college game, 22 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists. He outscored Clemson by himself in the second half, 22-21. He shot 7 out of 11. Clemson shot 7 out of 27. And Mike, he did it in Madison Square Garden. You know what the song says, you do it there, you can do it anywhere. Clemson, having watched this game, Clemson, all they really had to do was walk out onto the court and win. Yeah. You know, in the second, and then they just couldn't do it. If you watch their offense, they just dribbled around the perimeter of the three-point line for 15 to 22 seconds, and they didn't get very many shots where you'd say that was a good shot, and this kid overwhelmed them. He did. I'm gonna go to a comparison that is blasphemous. But you and I have watched, and you more than me, every great player who has played in Madison Square Garden for 50-plus years. We've seen all of them, and now I'm going to say something that may make you cringe. I'm going to say it anyway. When I was watching this kid a little bit, I didn't watch as much of this game as you did, and I watched all the highlights later. You know who he reminds me of? Bernard King. With where he gets his shots when he's working that baseline. Thick. Yeah, not as thick. The jump may not be quite as quick. But he's got something. But you get that comparison, right? I'm not totally crazy. No, BYU doesn't have a whole lot of history as a basketball power. They got one highlight. 1981, Danny Ainge, coast to coast, beating Notre Dame, getting to the Final Eight. It's a long time between highlights. This is a highlight kid. Let's take a break. Kid is great. Coming up is Philip Rivers making the right decision. We will get perspective from Steve Young. We'll also ask him, what the hell's wrong with the Eagles offense? What's up with that? Tony, the kid doesn't he look ready? I mean, most of these kids aren't ready and they get overstated. This kid looks ready. He's very quick to take one dribble and go right up. Boom!
He's part of Happy Hour.
We've got NFL questions for our great friend, the man who taught me everything I know about private equity, Hall of Fame quarterback Steve Young, and we have to begin with Philip Rivers. We have to. Philip Rivers said today, this is a direct quote, "It's one of those deals where a door opens and you either walk through it and find out if you can do it or you run from it," unquote. If a team had called you, Steve, years after you retired, and for all I know, maybe one did, how would you weigh that decision?
Yeah, I mean, for a little while, there's a little bit of dance step because, let's go backwards. I think we talked about this. When you're playing, you're one of the best in the world at something, and when it ends too early, and you crave it because it took all of you, spiritually, emotionally, intellectually, physically. You poured yourself into it to be any good in the NFL, to be great. You want to keep doing it, and it's hard to leave. And so we all talk about it. Jerry Rice and I talked about it for, I don't know, maybe for 20 years. Like, I think we could still do it. But you have to be honest with yourself. You have to be mature enough to realize it is a young man's game. It's an elite athletic event. And you have been sitting on your couch. And I don't care how much you've been trying to stay in shape. If Philip says, I've been staying in shape, you've been preparing for pickleball or Pilates with your wife. Like, you have not been getting ready for the NFL and what's going to happen. So my biggest worry is that you blow the Achilles, you blow your knee out, your shoulder gives out. The second, but less worrisome, is you look like a fool. Because, I mean, look, everyone says, you've been out for 4 years, you look like a fool. I'm okay, but no one wants to get really hurt. You are not prepared. Nobody, the best athletes in the world, get hurt after preparing year-round. And now you're going to show up after being on the couch for 4 years? That's tough. But I understand the draw. Philip, I understand the draw, brother. If someone called me right now, I'd be like, it is my era. Like, maybe. I don't. Is this really happening? Honestly, is this really happening? Is he starting? What are we going to say? It's Wednesday. Is it happening?
Right. It's out of Walter.
Is it?
It's just he's not coming out. He's not coming out to sit on the bench though, Steve. And you know him. His ego is pretty damn healthy.
If he does it, let me say it after I went on and on there. If he does it, we all need to just bow down and just say the great Philip Rivers, because that's amazing.
No doubt. All right, we will move to something more realistic and problematic, which is the Philadelphia Eagles and their offense. I don't remember you ever having offensive issues once you got rolling in San Francisco, but you're looking at the Eagles. They seem to be struggling after a Super Bowl run. What is the main thing that's broken here, and what do you fix?
So last year, the Super Bowl run was fueled by the running game. And it was like, and it augmented by some explosive passing game. But it didn't ask Jalen to become a sophisticated passer. Like, it didn't say you can't do it. I'm just saying it didn't ask him. And they ran it all the way to the Super Bowl. This year, the running game is not doing that. So you don't have that 1-2 punch that I think was Super Bowl ready. So now you have to integrate. If you're not going to be a great running team and dominate, and Saquon's not going to be MVP, essentially, then you've got to have an integrated effort to become a sophisticated offense, which includes both Saquon and these elite weapons. And I think what's happening is they're getting the least out of both. And that's why they're struggling. And they're getting the least out of the quarterback because they've been asking so little. It's time to ask more, and it's hard to make that transition. Not that you can't do it, but you don't just go from first gear to eighth gear. Well, I don't know, that's weird. But you just can't do it that fast. And so I think that's the problem. They're in a tight spot that neither are working from last year. And the fact is, they have not developed what you're seeing in Green Bay, in San Francisco, in LA. They have the innovation. They just didn't have been practicing it.
We will get you out of here on this. Thank you for mentioning Green Bay. Packers head coach Matt LaFleur complained about Micah Parsons being held up by the Bears without any flags, and he said this direct quote, "I guess I don't know what holding is anymore," unquote. Do you think there's more holding now, or has this been happening forever?
There's two things that you will hear the most on the football field. One is a receiver coming back to the huddle telling everyone that he's open. That's number one. The number two thing that you hear everywhere on the football field is, "I'm being held" by the defensive lineman. So that is like ubiquitous through time, eons of time. So that's not going to change. I think that nuances now is that officials are now trying to get so specific and so nuanced. Everything's about getting more offense. All the rules, safety rules in the last 10 years have all been against the defense. And so they're trying to have holding be nuanced so that it's contextual. And now the line judge and the head referee are like, that is holding, but contextually, I think I'm going to hold the flag. You know what I mean? So I think that's what's happening, is that they're trying to give the offense as much advantage as possible, because that's what we've been doing for 10, 15 years. And we're trying to have holding, because holding's always around. It always will be around, but how it gets flagged, it seems to be that they're being a little bit more nuanced about it and in the favor of offensive linemen. That's what it looks like.
Thank you, Steve.
Great.
Always a
Thank
pleasure
you
to
so
have you.
much,
Thank
Steve.
you.
Appreciate it.
All right, maybe I will come back.
Yeah.
Good.
If Phil Rivers dominates, Jerry, we're doing it. I'm calling him up. He's down the street. We were talking about
Call
the other
Jerry.
day. We're going to start throwing the ball around, and
great.
it's happening.
That would be great. That would be great.
Yeah, it
People
would be
come
great.
to see that. Yeah, let's take one last break. Still to come, Pete Alonso leaves the Mets for the Orioles.
And is ACC Commissioner Jim Phillips right? The college football playoff needs more teams. Tony, if they come back, we got to come back. We got to come back as sports writers and go cover
sports writers?
Steve and Jerry coming back. 8 and 81, 8 and